All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this village board meeting to order on Monday, April 1st, 2024, and ask you if you would all please rise and join the village board in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call a roll?
Trustee Tinaglia.
Here.
Trustee Baldino.
Here.
Trustee Shirley.
Here.
Trustee Bertucci.
Here.
Trustee LaBedz.
Here.
Trustee Schwingbeck. Trustee Dunnington.
Here.
Trustee Grasse.
Here.
President Hayes.
Here. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes, and we have a bunch of sets of minutes to approve tonight. The first is from our closed session of February 24, 2024. Any changes or passes? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll start it. I move to approve the closed session minutes from February 24th, 2024. Second.
Motion by trustee Grasse, second by trustee LaBedz. Any questions or comments from the board or from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Next are the committee of the whole meeting minutes from March 11, 2024. Any changes or passes?
I'll move approval of the committee of the whole minutes from March 11th, 2024. Second.
Motion by trustee Grasse, second by trustee LaBedz. Any questions or comments from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, the joint meeting of the Arlington Heights Memorial Library and the Village Board on March 16, 2024. Any changes or passes?
Pass.
Passed by trustee Tinaglia. Any other changes or passes? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Move to approve the minutes for the joint meeting from March 16th, 2024.
Second.
Motion by trustee Baldino, second by trustee Dunnington. Questions or comments from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, our committee of the whole meeting minutes from March 18, 2024. Any changes or passes?
I'll move to approve the committee of the whole minutes from March 18th, 2024. Second.
Motion by trustee Grasse, second by trustee LaBedz. Questions or comments from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And finally, our village board meeting minutes of that same evening, March 18, 2024. Any changes or passes? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I'll move approval of the village board meetings of March 8, minutes from March 18, 2024.
Second.
Motion by trustee LaBedz, second by trustee Dunnington. Any questions or comments from the board or from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We'll move on then to the approval of accounts payable, and I would call on trustee Bertucci.
Mayor, I'll move approval of the warrant register for the check date March 30th, 2024 in the amount of $1,423,901.02.
Second.
Motion by trustee Bertucci, seconded by trustee Baldino. Any questions or comments from the board? Anything from the audience? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Bertucci.
Yes.
Trustee Baldino.
Yes.
Trustee Shirley.
Yes.
Trustee Grasse.
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia.
Yep.
Trustee Dunnington.
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz.
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. And there are no recognitions or presentations tonight, so we'll move on to citizens to be heard. And we do have one blue card from an individual wanting to speak to the board on items not on the agenda. And so I would call on Seth Goldberg. Hi, Seth. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me here. My co-chair, Ryan Bowers, and I, we are here to promote another upcoming fundraiser that we're doing for Chicago Adaptive Sports. It's a wrestling fundraiser on Saturday, April 13th, over at Camelot. We can't thank enough for Camelot staff and the Arlington Heights Park District for allowing us to use the venue for the event. The event is from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., between 8 and 8:30 that evening. 100% of the proceeds goes back to Chicago Adaptive Sports. And eventually what we're trying to do is we're trying to get an adaptive building for all adaptive sports like basketball, all those sports. And this is our fourth year doing it. I know Mayor Hayes has been there a couple of times. I know Village Manager Reckless has been there. It's such a fun event to do. It's a family-friendly event. So if you have kids, grandkids, anybody that wants to come out, we're going to do a 50-50. We're going to do a raffle. Garibaldi's is going to allow us to sell pizzas out there. It's just going to be a fun event. We have our headliner. His name is Cowboy James Storm. He's our headliner for the event. So the event, the price is $40. It's VIP. That gets you T-shirt and a poster. Also, there's going to be a table of 10. There's going to be front row tickets available. And we also cannot thank enough for the sponsors. Arlington Cowboys is one of them. Rookies, Old Republic, For Sure DJ Entertainment, Gatsby's, which is also going to be our after party, and Timeless Toys. So it's going to be a fun night, and we're also looking for more sponsors for which we're doing match sponsorships. There's 6 matches, and then there's going to be a championship match. So it's going to be fun. If anybody wants information, they can email me at seth1982@aol.com or Facebook me. Tickets are very low right now, so we, still selling them, of course, but we're almost sold out. So, and I do want to say that in the 4 years that we've done this, in the combine of the 4 years, we've raised over $4,000 for Chicago Adaptive Sports, which is remarkable. Knights of Columbus is going to be out there, so please come on out. And like I said, it's going to be a fun family event.
Well, thank you both for being here and for putting on this very fun event for a great cause. And so looking forward to it. As you said, I've been there a few times and really enjoyed the entertainment. And so thank you for coming and letting our community know about it.
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, Trustee Bertucci.
It's not in reference to.
Okay.
Okay, so I just going back to the approval of minutes in the agenda, it says 224 closed session. That I believe was, it's a Saturday, and I believe that was a joint session. So Becky, I was not there, and I'd like, since that, again, that was not a closed session, I believe that was joint with the Park District, maybe?
We'll make sure that the records reflect the appropriate date, but the closed session meeting of, I think these were for minutes from a closed session meeting in the past. And so that's what
Okay.
was approved, but yes.
Okay, if it was, the only meeting I've missed recently was that Saturday meeting with the Park.
And that
joint with
action
the
was
Park.
not taken on the 24th of February. You're correct.
Okay.
All right. We'll go back to citizens to be heard. Any other members of the audience wish to address the board on items not on the agenda? Melissa?
Hello, Melissa Kerr speaking. I wanted to complain about the Arlington Ridge Center. They have lights on their building outside building lights that are on all the time. And I complained to the front desk, I complained to the manager, and their online contact form, and Mary Fran Leno and Carrie Fullerton, but the supervisor just said they always stay on. Well, they're wasting a lot of electricity, and the life of the bulbs is also being wasted. So I was wondering if you could advise them, get your electrical engineers to advise them on how to turn off the lights. And
Well,
you
you
gave them an award too, the Bombic Award for design, the Arlington Ridge Center.
Well, you correctly pointed out, Melissa, that is a Park District facility, and you correctly went to them to address the situation. And so I don't know if you have any further comments on that, Mr. Recklaus?
No, I mean, they're a separate entity, and they're not subject to our authority in terms of us telling them how to manage their facility. That's if we've raised that issue with them, then that's the appropriate authority to raise it with them, and then they have to be responsive to the public the same way that we do for our facilities. But ultimately, it's up to them to determine whether or not they want to keep those lights on or not.
waste electricity or not, but maybe you could have the electrical engineers advise them on how to turn it off, or claw back their design award, at least.
All right, thanks, Melissa. Anyone else in the audience on items not on the agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll close the citizens to be heard portion of the agenda and move on to old business. And we do have one item to report out tonight, and I would call on trustee LaBedz.
Thank you, Mayor Hayes. I move now, as I did earlier this evening, to recommend that the Village Board of Trustees recommend to the Liquor Commissioner the issuance of a Class A liquor license to Marbling, Inc., doing business as Marbling, located at 63 West Gulf.
Second.
Motion by trustee LaBedz, seconded by trustee Grasse. Questions or comments from the board or from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, congratulations, good luck to you. For the audiences and those watching at home, information, this is a Korean barbecue, new restaurant located in town on Gulf Road. And I didn't ask you in the previous meeting, when do you hope to open? Just a ballpark. We're not looking to pin you down.
A couple weeks?
All right. Well, good luck to you. All right. Thank you so much. We have no other old business, and so we'll move on then to new business. Oh, I'm sorry. We have the consent agenda. Are there any members of the board who wish to remove an item on the consent agenda? We do have a request by Mr. Moons to pull consent legal F, and so that shall be removed. Anyone else in the audience wish to remove my item on the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, is there are there any members of the board who wish to vote no or pass on any remaining items on the consent agenda? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the remaining items.
So moved?
Second?
Motion by trustee Baldino, seconded by trustee LaBedz. Roll call.
Trustee Baldino?
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
Trustee Grasse?
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia?
Yes.
Trustee Shirley?
Yes.
Trustee Bertucci?
Yes.
Trustee Dunnington?
Yes.
President Hayes?
Yes. Right now, we'll go on to new business, and we do have one item to consider this evening. That's a request for a preliminary plat of subdivision and rezoning from R1 to R3 and variations for lot width for the property located 1821 North Verde in Arlington Heights. Is the petitioner present? Why don't you come forward and just identify yourself if you would? And tell us what you're looking to do here.
Yeah, John Van Kooten. Okay. Yeah, John Van Kooten's the name. My wife and I own this lot at 1821. So the existing lot, it is two lots of record, but the one lot, the corner lot on Verde and, I'll show you there, Palatine Frontage Road in Verde, that corner lot was reduced when Palatine Road was widened. And so what we wanted to do was rezone it. Here we go. So this is the existing overlay zoning. So it's R1 now, and then the comprehensive map shows R3 zoning. And so that was what we wanted to do, and in order to accomplish that, we needed a couple of variances. So it was a rezone, and then just going to move the one property line over to allow both of them to be buildable lots. And then while doing that, we needed to leave 90 foot on the corner lot there for any additional widening or anything like that. And so this has all been gone over with the engineering department and the planning department.
Okay, anything else?
No, does anybody have any questions?
Well, let me go to the staff first, and then we'll see if there's any questions.
Okay.
So, Michael?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and trustees. I'll just pop up my presentation real quick. Okay. So this is originating from Plan Commission 2107. subdivision request at 1821 North Verde. So yes, currently it's an R1 one-family district. That's the request is to rezone it to an R3, again, single-family district. And this was just a preliminary plat of subdivision. Was originally a preliminary and final plat. The applicant has requested that it be a preliminary plat for the one property to be divided into the two lots with two variations. The variations are on the southern lot to allow for the lot to be 68.5 feet wide. The reason for that is it'll leave the northern lot, which is on the corner, at 90 feet, which is required. So one of the lots would need a variation in order to accommodate the subdivision. So this is an aerial of the neighborhood. You'll see in red is the two lots that are being basically re-subdivided, reapportioned. Right now, there's one single-family home that's on the bottom lot. On the northern lot, there's just two accessory structures right now, an additional two-car garage and a small shed behind it. You can see the adjacent zoning in the dark yellow to the right or to the east is the R3. They're looking to make the light yellow, which is currently R1, the R3, which again has adjacent zoning, so it is compatible. And the petitioner alluded to the fact that the comprehensive plan does put it into that single-family zone, so it would be, again, consistent with the comprehensive plan to rezone that property. These are the two lots. So you can see the northern lot would be a 90-foot width along North Verde, which is complies with our code. As a result, the southern lot would be slightly less wide than is required, and that's the 68.57 variation, two variations that are being requested tonight. Again, so this is the non-code compliant, but it's to allow for the two building lots to be subdivided, and that's what it would have been under code with the dark blue line. So if that went to the dark blue line, then the northern portion would be non-conforming, and we need a variation there. These are how the two lots will be subdivided, and then their proposed square footage. And this is the preliminary site plan that we've seen for the two new properties that would be built on the re-subdivided properties. So the staff recommended approval, which the Plan Commission heard and again voted 8-0 in favor of sending that recommendation to you for approval with the rezoning and the two variations. The 8 recommendations that are in front of you were attached to that approval. If you want, I can read them each off, or I can take any questions on any of the recommendations.
And no need to read them off, Michael, thank you. Anything else?
I believe that is it.
Okay, thank you. First, Mr. Van Kooten, are you in agreement with all of the Plan Commission conditions?
Yes.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board? Trustee Bertucci.
So in reading the packet and some of the material, one of the things that came up at the Plan Commission you were asked about was you're going to be your own general contractor, is that?
That kind of, I haven't gotten that far into the details yet of exactly how that's going to lay out. Just been really working on this for quite some time, just to get through these approvals.
Okay. Okay, so when you were at the Plan Commission, do you recall when they asked you that question?
No, I didn't.
Okay, it was Commissioner Ennis,
Okay.
and it was asked if, let me just go to that. It was asked if you were going to hire a contractor or be your own contractor.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one yet.
Oh, you're not?
I've done my own.
Oh, you have done them?
Yes. No, I've got many projects that I've put through to the commission when we originally talked about this.
Okay,
So I've done it before. Whether I'm going to do that this time, I'm not sure yet.
okay,
Because I've got 2 lots and there's a lot of variables in place here, including, moving there myself and those kind of things. So,
yeah. Have you done them in Arlington Heights before?
No, I have not.
Okay, okay.
Most of the work that I've done is in the city. Done just a couple outside the city, but mostly in Chicago. A lot of walk-ups and some single families.
Okay, okay. I just so that, I would be sure that you work with staff, obviously, and making sure that you're following what they're, what they're asking for if you do it on your own and don't use a contractor familiar with Arlington Heights.
Yeah, well, if that became an issue, that might be why we would use one that was familiar with Arlington Heights.
Okay.
So we would kind of walk through that, at that time.
Okay.
And see what was going to be the path of least resistance, if you will.
Right. All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Seeing none. Anything from the audience on this? All right. Well, if you're in agreement, did you say you were going to be living in one of the homes?
Possibly. It's I've got a kid looking at college right now, so I've got, like I say, I've got a lot of different variables. That's a possibility.
Okay.
I can't guarantee it at
Okay.
this point.
Not a requirement, but just
Yeah,
curious.
well, I live in Glenview now, but Arlington Heights would be, something that would be desirable to me also.
Okay. Good to
And
hear.
Mayor, just before you entertain a motion, there's actually a ninth recommendation, which is that they obtain final plat of subdivision since it was altered from the original. They're only seeking preliminary at this point. Just wanted to make sure that was on the record, and that is reflected in your motion sheet.
Right, correct. Thank you for pointing that out. Trustee Grasse.
I had a quick question that I'm ready to put forth the motion, but when was that property reduced for Palatine Frontage Road? What year was that, or how long ago was that? Do we know? I was just curious, out of history of Arlington Heights.
Sam had said it was in the 50s,
Okay,
late 50s is what he had mentioned in the previous meeting.
thanks. I was just curious for history.
What Sam had, he made a few assumptions, but he said that he thought that these two lots were identical at one point, and that corner lot got reduced in the widening, and at some point, whoever owned that interior lot picked up that little piece and added it to their existing lot.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
So, and that's why they're asking for the 90 feet now, because we never know what's going to happen on Palatine Road.
Right.
Could get wider.
Well,
All right, anything
I mean,
else? Anything else from the board? Seeing none, Trustee Grasse, go ahead.
so I move to approve PC Plan Commission number 21-007, an application for rezoning from the R1 one-family dwelling district to the R3 one-family dwelling district, preliminary plat of subdivision, approval to re-subdivide the property into two lots and the following variations, and conditions as put forth in this motion.
Second?
Motion by Trustee Grasse, seconded by Trustee Baldino. And again, just for clarification, that's the 9 conditions, including that the petitioner will obtain final plat of subdivision approval. Okay. Anything further from the board? Anything from the audience? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, good luck to you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate your time.
There is no other new business, and so we'll go on and consider the legal item that was removed. Mr. Reckless, you want to talk about that?
Sure. As you all know, the village engages in a lot of regional partnerships when it makes operational and financial sense, such as Mavis, which I know a couple of you got a tour of over the past weekend, Northwest Central Dispatch, and the like. One of the things that, one of the areas where we engage in cooperation, have traditionally, is looking at things such as narcotics enforcement. And for the last several years, we've participated in a regional narcotics task force that our contract expires in April. In looking at other ways of accomplishing those same goals, the police department did research and found that the FBI has a joint venture called the Safe Streets Task Force that accomplishes many of the same goals that our previous narcotics task force did. And the way this works is we provide an officer to be a member of the task force. The FBI provides reimbursement for any overtime, a vehicle, communications, et cetera. But as part of this agreement, any legitimate seizure of cash or tangible property that are taken as part of the proceeds of an illegal criminal enterprise then are awarded via court we get a share of all of those proceeds. This is something that, on the one hand, helps address regional issues in an efficient manner, but it also is a way to kind of pay for itself in this process because they're able to work on cases that have larger seizures than we typically would be involved in at the local level. And so staff recommends the village board approve the resolution, authorize the chief of police to enter in the agreement as outlined.
Any questions or comments from the board on that? Trustee LaBedz?
Just a quick question. Is the officer assigned as needed, or is this an ongoing task?
Generally, this is something that there is going to be their permanent assignment. For the most part.
And then you have a certain length of time for that, or within the agreement, or?
I don't know if cheaper, it's open-ended.
Okay, thank you.
All right. If nothing else from the board, Mr. Moons, does that answer your question? Thank you, President Hayes. Okay, great, thanks. Chief, anything to add?
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, if nothing else, then I'd entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
I would move approval of the resolution.
Second.
Motion by trustee LaBedz, seconded by trustee Bertucci. Anything else from the board or the audience? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
Trustee Bertucci?
Yes.
Trustee Baldino?
Yes.
Trustee Dunnington?
Yes.
Trustee Shirley?
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia?
Yes.
Trustee Grasse?
Yes.
President Hayes?
Yes. There's no other items under legal, so we'll move on to the report of the village manager. Mr. Eklund?
Nothing more tonight.
Okay. Anything from the board under petitions and communications? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
By trustee Baldino, seconded by trustee LaBedz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all for joining us this evening.